The 32-year-old Caesar looked at the bust of Alexander the Great and felt deep shame. Alexander had the world under his feet when he was that age. However, Caesar did not have a serious success that affected the world. For the ambitious Caesar, who lived in the grip of a long power struggle, this was not acceptable. He was determined to change the world and put his name in history. From that point on, he would do whatever it takes to gain more power. So, what kind of life did Caesar, perhaps the most well-known leader in the world, live up to this point? How did his experiences up to the age of 32 affect him? What was the path he would follow to gain more power and authority? Gaius Julius Caesar was born in the year 100 BC as the son of a couple from the Julia family. When Caesar was born, the Julia family was not very strong, but they had a long history. Legend has it that the members of this family were descendants of the Trojan prince Aeneas, son of the goddess Venus. Although they were not very wealthy and influential, their reputation and history allowed them to be accepted among the nobility class called patricians. Caesar's father was also named Gaius Julius Caesar, and he served as the governor of the Roman province of Asia. Caesar's aunt Julia was married to Gaius Marius, one of the leading figures of the Roman Republic. His mother, Aurelia, was the daughter of a family with strong connections in Rome. Caesar's family, though not among the finest in Rome, had a certain weight. There are not many records of Caesar's childhood, but his life, which started at a mediocre point, changed with the sudden death of his father in 85 BC. At the age of 16, Caesar suddenly found himself at the head of his family. Just at this time, a civil war broke out between her aunt's husband, Gaius Marius, and his rival, Lucius Sulla. Both sides were constantly striving to gain more power, and they never hesitated to get blood on their hands. Gaius Marius and his ally Cornelius Cinna seized power in Rome. Thanks to the position of his relatives, Caesar was nominated as a senior Jupiter priest. Jupiter occupied a priority position among the Roman gods. Being a priest of this god could be very beneficial for Caesar. It would provide a great deal of prestige and power. There was only one problem. Jupiter priests could only marry women of the noble patrician class. Caesar's lover belonged to the plebeian class, meaning she was an ordinary citizen. Determined to become a priest, Caesar left this woman and married Cornelia, daughter of Cornelius Cinna. Caesar's youth had not started badly. His relatives ruled Rome. Thanks to them, he reached a privileged position. He was married to the daughter of one of the two men who ruled Rome. Everything was going well for him. But in Rome, things could change at any moment. Caesar had to learn this the hard way, and what he learned he would never forget for the rest of his life. The rivals of Gaius Marius and Cornelius Cinna suddenly gathered strength, defeated them, and took over the administration of Rome. For Caesar, the nephew of Gaius Marius' wife and Cinna's son-in-law, this meant disaster. He was stripped of his priesthood, his inheritance and his dowry from his wife Cornelia were confiscated, and he was forced to divorce his wife. Defying the divorce order at the cost of risking his life, Caesar began a life on the run. The weight of Caesar's bad days would be partially alleviated by the intervention of his mother. Using her connections, she asked her son to be forgiven. Although Sulla did not return Caesar's confiscated property, he agreed to spare his life. Caesar was afraid that Sulla would change his mind and decide to kill him. He had to get away from Sulla, that is, from Rome. He joined the army. He then went to the province of Asia, where his father served as governor. Here he served under the command of Marcus Minicus Thermus, and in the province of Cilicia under the command of Servilius. He attracted attention with his superior qualities during the years of his military duty. He was awarded the Corona Civicus, Soldiers who accomplished great things, and especially those who saved the lives of other soldiers, received this order. Although he was expelled from his high priesthood and forced to join the army, a new era had begun in Caesar's life that would allow him to gain the power he wanted. With the start of his military career, Caesar saw a new opportunity. He had decided to follow the path of Cursus Honorum, which led to the Consulship, the highest office of the Roman Republic. Cursus Honorum means the way of honor in Latin. It was necessary to have served in military positions for about 10 years in order to show progress on this path. A Roman youth joined the army at the age of 17 and rose in the army for 10 years. After 10 years of tenure, he was appointed Tribunus Militum, or military administrator. Those who served as Tribunus Militum for a while was later elected Quaestor, that is, treasurer. After completing his duty as Quaestor, if he did not come from a noble family, he could be Tribunus Plebis, a kind of representative of the people. If he was a noble person, he was appointed to the office of aedilis. A person in the office of aedilis would organize games, festivities, and gladiator fights for the amusement of the people and the nobility. Although it may not sound very important, this office could be a source of great power and popularity for Roman politics, where it was very important to win the love and support of the people. The Roman on this path then would come to the office of praetor, which was the stage before the consulship. Praetors served as general administrators with the power to judge citizens. After this step, there was the consulate. The consuls served as the leaders of the Senate and the state. After being elected to the office, they could serve for a maximum of 1 year. In addition, 2 consuls were elected at one time. The consuls had the power to veto each other's decision. Thus, a single person was prevented from obtaining unlimited power. It was this Cursus Honorum path that Caesar decided to follow. He wanted to be a consul and use his powers to consolidate his position. It would be a long and difficult road, but he was ready for what was to come. After Sulla died in 78 BC, Caesar decided it was now safe to return to Rome. Caesar could not recover his confiscated assets. With the money he had, he bought a house in the Suburra neighborhood, where the low-income people of Rome lived. He began to use his superior qualities and ambition in the field of law, where he could gain money and popularity. He started a relentless struggle against governors who were involved in corruption and extortion. During this period of Caesar's life, a serious event occurred that showed his ambition and determination. Although the reason is not known exactly, Caesar went on a journey on the Aegean Sea. Some sources state that the purpose of this trip was to go to the island of Crete and take lessons on rhetoric from the philosophers living there. Caesar was kidnapped by pirates during his journey. The purpose of the pirates was not to kill Caesar, but to hold him hostage for ransom. Caesar got along very well with his captors. When the pirates demanded 20 silvers for Caesar, Caesar said that his life would cost at least 50 silvers. He told the pirates that after they release him, he would find and crucify them. The pirates thought that Caesar was joking and laughed. Indeed, shortly after his ransom was paid and he was released, Caesar hunted them down and had them all killed and crucified. Caesar had no other eyewitnesses during his captivity. So, we don't know if he actually told the pirates he was going to kill them. However, it will be enough for us to understand Caesar's determination that he found and killed them right after he was released. Shortly after this event, Caesar was recalled to the army. Caesar, who took a break from his legal career for his military duty, again served in the province of Asia. He later returned to Rome. He received the title Tribunus Militum, so he became a military administrator. Thus, he reached the first stage on the path of Cursus Honorum. Caesar, who served as a tribunus militum for a while, was elected quaestor in 69 BC. Shortly after that, his aunt Julia and then his wife Cornelia died. After the funerals of his aunt and wife, he went to Spain to serve as quaestor, the treasurer of the region. Returning to Rome 2 years after his duty in Spain, Caesar married Pompeia, the granddaughter of his old enemy Sulla. He was then brought to the position of aedilis in 65 BC. As you can remember from the Cursus Honorum description, the statesman in this office was in charge of organizing games for the entertainment of common plebs and noble patricians. Although it did not seem very serious, it was a valuable task for Caesar, who could influence the masses with the games he organized. Caesar effectively used the perks of his office with spectacular events and games. In 63 BC, Caesar entered the elections in order to reach the office of Pontifex Maximus, the head priest of the Roman state religion. Caesar easily won the election, despite the fact that his opponents had more experience than he did. Being on the rise, Caesar took office as praetor in 62 BC and entered a new stage on the path of Cursus Honorum. After serving for a time as praetor, he was appointed governor of western Spain. Caesar was adding to his political power, but it came at a price. He was constantly spending money on his political campaigns and was sinking into debt. His debts had reached a level that would cause him a headache in legal terms. He had to find a way to fix this problem. Marcus Licinius Crassus, one of Rome's leading rich citizens, could help him. Crassus paid off some of Caesar's debts. In return, he asked Caesar for support on the matter of Pompey. The interests of Pompey and Crassus were contradictory. Crassus wanted to have a talented politician like Caesar on his side against Pompey. Caesar partially granted what Crassus wanted, but before his tenure as praetor expired, he had to return to Spain. His position gave him legal protection. Thanks to his privileged position, he prevented the problems he had previously experienced with his debts from turning into subjects of lawsuits. Returning to Spain, Caesar achieved great things and sought to distract the Roman Senate and its people. He had to somehow suppress the rumors that were starting to circulate about him. For this, he made some reforms in debt law. In addition, he won a victory over some tribes that rebelled in Spain against Roman rule. He was hailed as imperator by the legionaries under his command. At that time, legionaries hailed their beloved commanders as imperator after great victories. Caesar was gaining the love of both his soldiers and the people with his reforms and victories, thus adding strength to his power. In 60 BC, Caesar successfully completed his mission in Spain and returned to Rome. He started to work to obtain the consulship, which was the last step of the Cursus Honorum. When he became consul, he would be one of the two people who would literally rule Rome. Caesar won the election and became a consul with Marcus Bibulus in 59 BC. Having reached the last rung of the Cursus Honorum path, Caesar did not stop. He had no intention of being an ordinary consul to do his duty and then to retreat to his corner. He wanted to add more to his power. He met with Crassus, who had helped him before. Crassus was Pompey's rival. Caesar, on the other hand, wanted to take advantage of the power and wealth of both Crassus and Pompey. After reconciling the two, he formed an alliance. This alliance is known as the First Triumvirate, the reign of the three, in Roman history. Caesar arranged a marriage between his daughter Julia and Pompey to consolidate the alliance he had forged. He also married the daughter of a powerful senator, Calpurnia. Caesar knew that if he won the love of the poor, he could gain some serious power. For this, he brought a bill to the Senate. According to this bill, public lands would be distributed to poor citizens. Pompey filled Rome with his troops to support his ally and intimidate his opponents. The other consul, Marcus Bibulus, wanted to veto this bill by using his consular right. However, Caesar's armed supporters forced him out of the forum. Humiliated and openly abused in public, Bibulus locked himself in his home. At times, he tried to challenge Caesar's laws, but he could not cope with it. Caesar's power made his consular powers completely ineffective. Nearing the end of his term as consul, Caesar secured his own appointment as governor of the provinces of Cisalpine Gaul and Illyricum. When the governor of Transalpine Gaul died unexpectedly, he also took this office for himself. Caesar had serious reasons for wanting to be a governor. First of all, it was unlikely that governors would have legal problems. Caesar, who openly broke many laws during his 1 year as a consul, was trying to get away from Rome and gain legal immunity. In addition, being a governor could be a very profitable business, both politically and financially. Caesar, who was in debt for his extreme actions, would make money with new military campaigns and strengthen his reputation with his victories. While all of this would make him immune to legal actions, he would become even more powerful with the money and victories he earned. The territory of Gaul, bordering the provinces he controlled, was perfect for military campaigns that would feed Caesar's power. He began his campaigns in 58 BC and almost completely captured Gaul with his legions. Not only that, he also made expeditions to Britain. Although he was not as successful in Britain as in Gaul, he had new gains from this expedition. As the successful commander of the Gallic War, Caesar had come a long way on his way to be a pinnacle of power. There was only one problem: not everyone was very happy with his rise. Besides, Caesar was about to lose the support of his greatest allies. Caesar's daughter Julia, whom he married to Pompey to strengthen his alliance, died while Caesar was on the British campaign. Although he offered Pompey his niece, Pompey did not accept this offer. Thus, he showed that he might not want to continue the alliance with Caesar, which was established through family ties. In addition to this tension, Crassus, one of Caesar's biggest supporters, died in 53 BC during a campaign against Parthia. From 52 to 49 BC, distrust and tensions grew between Caesar and Pompey. Cato and Bibulus, who had served as consuls before Caesar, persuaded Pompey to take action against Caesar. The risk of civil war in Rome gradually increased. Finally, Caesar decided to go to Rome and take control of the situation himself. Caesar's rivals fled Rome, fearing for their lives. Caesar came to the bank of the Rubicon with his legion. It was illegal to cross the Rubicon with a legion. The commander who did this was declared a traitor and was considered to have declared war on the Roman state. Caesar did not want to go back after this point. He crossed the river in defiance of the law. From that point on, he could only move forward. This event was very important as it revealed Caesar's ambition and the change he wanted to make in Rome. This event was taken so seriously that the expression "crossing the Rubicon" found its way into Western literature to mean embarking on a path of no return. This expression was still in use hundreds of years after Caesar's death. Caesar, crossing the Rubicon, took the city by force. After making Mark Antony head of Italy as his deputy, he went after Pompey and other rivals. Pompey had escaped from Italy via Brundisium. While pursuing Pompey, the Senate, under the influence of his friend Mark Antony, declared Caesar a dictator. Dictators were declared in emergencies, and the person who took the office of dictatorship had unquestionable authority for 6 months. Thus, Caesar formally acquired legally unquestionable power. Having fought Pompey's forces several times, Caesar followed him into Egypt. However, Pompey had already been killed by one of Caesar's men. His severed head and ring were brought to Caesar. It is said that Caesar wept at the sight. He was so angry that Pompey was killed without his clear judgment that he had the man who did this killed. Caesar also became a party to the civil war in Egypt. He took the side of Cleopatra in the war, enabling her to sit on the throne of Egypt. Thus, he strengthened his hand by having an influence on the lands of Egypt. This alliance gained a romantic dimension. He even had a child with Cleopatra. However, Caesar, who did not accept the legitimacy of this child, appointed his nephew Gaius Octavius as his heir. Caesar's behavior was not pleasing to Cleopatra, but it did not seriously damage the alliance between them. Returning to Rome, Caesar was declared dictator again in the last months of 48 BC and had unlimited authority for another year. Later, he made expeditions to Anatolia and Africa and destroyed his old rivals. He defeated the ex-consul Cato at the Battle of Thapsus in 46 BC. Unable to digest the thought that Rome would be ruled by Caesar, Cato committed suicide. After this victory, Caesar was declared dictator for 10 years. He had attained a power, likes of which was hard to see in Roman history. He had crushed most of his opponents. Perhaps he had more authority than he had imagined. He also defeated Pompey's sons with his power. He was re-elected consul in 45 BC. While normally each consul had a partner, Caesar, who did not want to share his power, sat alone as consul this time, contrary to Roman traditions. While gaining the love of many, Caesar caused some to hate him for his actions. He was stabbed to death by Senate members and friends during a Senate meeting on March 15, 44 BC. He came to the end of the road he had walked for years to reach the zenith of power. His life, struggle, and death completely changed Roman history. The Roman Republic collapsed in the civil war that broke out after his death. After the war was won by his nephew Octavius, the Roman Empire was established and Octavius became the first Roman emperor.